and welcome once again to Wars Going On. I'm Arcturus, and I'm joined by Sebastian Kanes here on the Forerunner server to bring you the latest in what's going on in Watcher of Realms. As ever, this is a community-based podcast, so please do remember to like and subscribe and get involved down in the comment section, as that will give us more topics to talk about in future episodes. How are you doing, Sebastian? Finally back into the game.
Well, oh, it was scary. No, it is concerning, right? But a lot of players did get locked out because they didn't figure out the whole VPN workaround. When it happened, when I was actually in the middle of something in the game, and when it happened and it kicked me out because it said there's a new update that rolled out. And then I said, well, okay, restart the game. Let's see what happens. I was actually in the Forerunner server. And when it come back in, it said, oh, sorry, you can't get back in. I was like, what the hell is going on here? And I did it again. Same message popped up. And then just because, I was playing during the beta days, I thought, what if I use a VPN just to get in? Because that's how I initially started playing the game, is when we needed the APK. Yeah, I needed to connect to Canada or something like that. So I did it. I went connected in Canada, and sure enough, it let me back in. I was like, okay, something big happened. No explanation going on as it stands right now. And then, of course, on the background, I'm hearing TikTok is out, and I'm like, that makes sense. Everything is coming into play. So the whole bill, when it came to be ByteDance TikTok ban, no, it was a ByteDance ban.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that initially was a power play by ByteDance, because ByteDance said, we're just going to shut things off for the United States before the ban actually went into effect. ByteDance, as a power play, decided that they were going to shut off services before the ban truly took effect. So they started not allowing United States users to log into TikTok. And then, of course, we found out Watcher of Realms was involved, Marble Snap, and other apps that they also run. And then 24 hours later, it got even worse, because Apple and Google said that the way the bill is written, and regardless of how President Trump is going to react to this, we need to safeguard ourselves. So we're going to just pull everything associated with ByteDance. And then, unfortunately, WoRs fell into that umbrella. They pulled it from their Apple stores or their respective stores, and they said, now it's your turn to go work it out. So that's where we stood for about, 48 hours, I think it was.
Yeah, it was about Tuesday people started getting back in. So just to wind things back, for people who aren't aware, I'm going to put a link to a John Oliver sketch, which kind of summarizes the situation that happened in the US a couple of days ago. But it all basically rolls back to Trump's previous round of presidency, where he fell out with the Chinese, and it basically said, this is horrendous. We want to own 50% of the companies. And it just things take so long to go through American Congress that it finally actually came in just at the end of Biden's presidency. And it basically meant that as of I think it was 19th of January, if the companies were not 50% owned by US companies, then they could be sanctions could be put on anyone who dealt with them. And it was basically no one wanted to deal with it. And Apple and Google just said, you know what, we're going to stand back. And it's exactly as Sebastian was saying, they pulled the apps because they didn't want to be caught up in this mess.
Yeah, you pretty much summarized it because it took so long. And essentially what then President Trump did in his first day of office is he signed an executive order pretty much saying, no, we're not going to prosecute anybody that is actually working with ByteDance. So we're going to place a 75-day hold on that. But even with that executive order, in the legalese aspect of it, there are still some concerns about it. So that's why Google and Apple took the actions that they did. So that's where we stand right now. So if you did uninstall the app, it's going to be a while before you can get it back. So if you can get an APK loaded, that's one workaround.
Yeah, and it is relative. If you can find someone trustworthy and you can find a method, you can get APKs and sideload, but you still will probably need a VPN should anything happen. But VPNs have been known to work. Even VPNs even work in China, which is very strict on international on closing its borders to other companies. So yeah, there are things you can do to get around national firewalls.
So, as a consequence of the brief ban, there were people that missed out on rewards. You and I were talking about things that could have happened, and well, primarily people usually, number one, that's the tail end of any summoning banner, right? So at the time we had Yuri's banner going on. So people that may have decided to, push as many to try to collect as many rare crystals before the ban went away, they lost out on that opportunity. Anybody that leaves Samurai runs for the weekend, that's another one, right? Guild bus rewards and arena placements was another one that I saw that people were upset about. So in turn, what happened was we got that little statement from Batista saying that they're going to be giving out daily rewards to try to compensate a little bit for what happened. So
yeah, so in the inbox this morning, there was the first one of these, which basically went through saying they're not fully restored and they're understanding their concerns, and then they started handing out the summoning crystals, the diamonds, and stamina potions as a daily basis until everything is fully restored. Now, this is really nice and unexpected. I mean, they did put out some so they put out some compensation when people got back into the game. They put out the statement a few days ago. I've just got it in Discord here. So they put it out saying, "We'd like to reassure you we're aware of the situation. We are working on it, and here is some compensation to make up for it." They said they would hand it out to affected people. And now I've obviously tried to work it out and gone, do you know what? This is just too complicated, and just decided to hand out rewards to compensation to everybody. But they kind of drop a few hints about things which they're still working on to try and show that they're definitely interested. And then, today, this morning, there was the this is what we're doing to pay you out.
I can tell you that the first video that I did on this is exactly, I just went over what happened and exactly why we got to the state that we were being at that time. And I drew a comparison to what happened to DragonHeir Silence Gods when Tencent acquired it and then they cut off United States user access. And at the time, it was because of that executive order that Trump signed that eventually carried over into the Biden presidency, and Congress kept working on it. And because of it, Tencent pretty much, they cut out a lot of access to their games apps here in the United States because of that reason. At that time, I was concerned for the game because we got news, and this was 2020, I think it was November 2020, if I'm remembering correctly, from when this whole fiasco started. We got news first that Nurbers was, not Nurbers, but ByteDance was going to, just sell off all their gaming portfolio. They're going to concentrate on things like TikTok and AI. And luckily, at the 11th hour, they decided to keep one branch, one of their branches, and everything else they kind of dispersed. And that happened to be the same arm, which is Nuverse, which is a publisher for many other games. And luckily, they also own Moonton. Yeah. And the reason for that is because ByteDance saw that Mobile Legends Bang Bang just was making them so much money that they could possibly use that for other projects. So I said, we'll keep this for now. So that was the state. And then once came about and said it was a ByteDance bill, then bam, it hit. And you and I, so all of that was to say that you and I were talking about whether anybody in the development team, I'm gonna restrict that because we need to restrict this to the bottom tier. The development team is going to be the bottom tier.
Yeah.
If they were aware that this was coming down the pipeline. I said in a subsequent video that I think that they may have had an inclination like a week ahead of time or something like that because they rolled out that weird update. And I said this update could be like a preparation for them to be able to update the game without the app being in the app stores because they knew there's a possibility that that could all come back, right?
Yeah.
And not be available, or Apple and Google were not going to work with them because of how the law was written. So they may have an inclination. But I said, I think that they might just have given such short time to work on this stuff and that they just right away they had to get ready for it. And anything that happened before that, they were just doing business as usual.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't really say we can't. I mean, it would be really incomprehensible if they actually decided to roll all these banners out beforehand, knowing that this was going to happen. But I don't think that that would have been the case. It would seem too scummy on their part if they did. And
Yeah.
you,
I
then,
think
actually had
what
an
you've got is that there are probably two tiers involved in the decision making. So there's obviously the team,
yes.
which, yeah. So there's definitely the team who are like putting together the content and pushing the banners out, and then there's like the senior management team over the top who are getting these messages down from on high from ByteDance saying this is what we're going to do, and that's where the decision was made not to tell anyone.
Yeah.
And I was having a conversation with a guy in DS1, Gal Maraz, and he's saying that he used to work for a different Chinese company and that there was very much a view that you didn't admit that if there was these sorts of things because it would be seen as a failure. So you try and hold on to the information to the last possible minute before communicating it down to people. So it's really difficult because there's probably cultural elements of ways of working that have impacted on it, and that's really hurt the player base. And there's a lot of people who, especially in the US, who are now saying, "Well, I don't want to spend any money because I don't know what's going to happen in the next 3 months."
Yeah. And then in a subsequent video, when I did follow it up on that, it was like, okay, guys, here's what's happening. We have access to the game, but here's my warning to you that this could still go off the rails. And if after 75 days, the parties involved don't agree to the stipulations that were somewhat written in the law, that this could happen again. And we would have to go through VPNs if that was still going to be accessible, but you will not have the environments anymore where you're going to have access to purchase anything. So I pretty much said, from my point of view, I'm just not going to spend on the game, and I'm going to kind of save resources, the game casually now until this whole thing gets rectified. Interestingly enough, I will say that 48 hours after I released that video, I was contacted and I was just told that they are optimistic that things will get resolved. And so I'm waiting to see what this announcement is in 2 weeks. There is a lot of stuff, yes, that might be going on in the background. And I'm trying to stay on top of the news to see exactly how things are changing, what's being made. ByteDance, their board, they're actually, the chairman of the board has said that the Chinese government is a little bit more open to the possibility of having a team up. And from his own point of view, he's also trying to find a resolution that does not require them to sell any part of the company. Then there are also rumors going around that Elon Musk might get it into it. This thing, and also what was the other that the guy that owns Oracle. Oracle is just a gaming company that we all know here in the United States, especially if we play Xbox, PS, PlayStation. We see games from them. So when I kind of got the sense Oracle might be coming to play, I could say, well, that could be one avenue that this whole things get resolved if Oracle gets their hands on Moonton. But we have to see what exactly is going to go on. If Moonton gets sold off, that's the another alternative here. Is hopefully it's a company that does not have any, legal beef with the United States in a sense, right? So they can operate things. And I definitely would not want to see it end up in Tencent's cans. Tencent already is having a bad record right now when it comes to gaming being shut down or just being cut off from certain regions.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you were playing DragonHeir at the time. I mean, I had tried it. It wasn't for me. I'd run out of fun content and I'd found it very grindy. But I think that it's a shame that happened to the game. And yeah, I mean, to cut off an entire region when there is an active player base is a really difficult decision because you're cutting off a revenue stream, and that's never going to be good for a company. So especially when you spent money to acquire this thing, to suddenly go, actually, I'm going to cut off two-thirds of my income because it's just too difficult legally to work out how to make this work.
The other thing that we also have to keep in mind is what effect this first bump or this first ban or this first phase had on consumer base, especially when it comes to the United States. Because like I said, I was awestruck as to how many messages I get saying, "This is it for me." It was nice. It was nice to see. Or they were just complimenting me, wishing me well, because they were going to go move on and just go look at other games. And they were telling me that if I wanted to share with others that they were able to get like 80% back of whatever they had spent over the last 90 days through Google Play or Apple, that, that I could share that just to show people how to try to get their money back. So those accounts are trash now, right? Because they either you can't log into them or they have a negative balance in terms of diamonds. So there's definitely an effect there. And I don't like to dwell too much into the war discourse discussion thread, but I also saw the same sentiment there. It's like, yep, peace out, I'm out. So
yeah,
we'll see how they are able to recover from that initial, because that alert there, it probably did freak out a lot of players, especially if those were spenders, and say, no, you can't just cut off access and then not let me play the game, because that's essentially what happened at the beginning. How do I get my money back then? How do we go about refunds or anything like that? And that was part of the Q&A, right, that they posted. It's like, how do I get refunds? And it's like, no, you can't. But they figured out a way. If if you're savvy enough to know how to work Google Play, Apple, or even your credit card company in that regard. But
yeah, exactly.
I didn't go to that extreme. I want to see what happens. I want to see what happens here within the next 75 days. Because like you said, if a major player base is cut off, and given the fact that last I checked, it was for Moonton, for the game as a whole, the revenue from the United States is about 30%, 35%, I think is what I saw.
Yeah.
And their part of the revenue is 40% from China. So China is their own is their own server, right? So
yeah,
that 40% is just coming from that little pool there that is just interacting within themselves. Now, then if you take that out, and then compare it to the global servers, the ones that you and I are accustomed to, the 50,000s, right? 50,000, 60,000. That if you actually can take the United States pool out of that, now you're looking at about half of it, right? So that's a big hit. So what does that do? Well, number one, it slows down development. It has to. You're not bringing as much revenue, so you can't pay everybody the way you were paying them to develop content in the game. So I think that's why they rush so fast and say, no, please, we still have things in development. Everything we've seen the positive in this. Here's every piece of content that we can share with you that is coming out within the next 2 months, 3 months, just to try to save some face there.
Yeah, so they made reference to the Nightmare 5 guild boss, which they've mentioned in previous interviews, and they've talked about the cooperative tower defense, which I think was actually one of the things from the community contributions of like, what do you want to do, what do you want us to do with the game, and they've talked about this brand new class as well, which will mix up gameplay. It's going to be really interesting to see how that plans out. I'm intrigued to try and work out what that could be. If they're going to make a dedicated buffing class, because at the moment their buffers are mostly kind of shoehorned in with the healers, and that means that they're not fully effective. So yeah, we'll have to see what comes of that. And yeah, there's definitely some things on the horizon. They also make reference to the Valentine's Day event. Obviously, there's some subtle hints about the Chinese New Year of things that are happening. I did see in the calendar this morning that there is a opportunity to update your camp with a new summoning stone icon, which looks like you're going to be able to collect bow in order to get. So we'll see what comes from that. But yeah, I don't know if there's a huge amount happening. I know there's been sort of suggestions that there might be some more heroes on the way, but I don't know exactly what those are. So yeah, we'll have to see what comes.
Yeah, ever since the league stuff is hard, you can get possible hints as to what might be coming down. We're kind of getting a sense of how Moonton is approaching the limited banners now too, so we can kind of anticipate those. It's not that hard to kind of guess if there's some type of major holiday coming that something might pop up, whether it's a redo or is a new hero. And so, but I guess with this whole thing as it stands right now, for United States players, I would say just keep an eye on things, especially if you do care about the game. Nobody's going to tell you to stick around if you want to, if you don't want to stick around, don't stick around. But I would say for now, just hold on to any, if you just want to do like the 3x, the what's it called, the battle pass or whatever it is, just you could do that, but I wouldn't go ham like myself. For Bizzlebub, hey, you know what? I didn't get him, so I'll hope for maybe in the future, because he will be in the regular pool. He's not going away. He'll be there.
No.
Yeah, exactly. So, like in Forerunners, he's been in the pool for a while, and people are pulling him in the 1+1. So he'll be there. He won't go away. So I'll get him eventually if things do settle. And we have access to the game in the future.
Yeah, it's nice to get some more heroes in the pool, because I was running out of things to pull on nascent banners other than Lords. So there's a few other things in the pool now to look forward to.
Yeah, but you said, the nascent banner could come to save me, hopefully in the future, if that's the case.
Right, yeah, or for me, it's Yuri, who I didn't pick up. So I need as many buffs as I can get from my Kagiri, because my Kagiri is A0. So anything I can do to make him more viable, because I know he's an absolute monster when he gets to A3. Everyone keeps telling me, but at A0, he's kind of a bit of a wet flannel.
I would say careful with the label of monster. It's just he becomes a much better support hero when he gets to that A3, because his basic attack is just rebuilding his range again. So he comes back to it a lot quicker, so you can inspire people quicker. Uh, that's where his effect is going to come in. Um, I know that the content creators were split in terms of what his utility is going to be, and
Yeah.
that's the point of this hero. Is there are ways to use him there are many ways to use him. It's just trying to find that perfect setup where he's going to complement everybody. And somebody posted, I think it was in one of my comments in one of the videos, that they posted that I was being unfair to Bizzlebob because we don't know if he might excel in some of the future content. And I was like, no. It's not that I'm being unfair to Bizzlebob. Is that I'm being unfair to the assessment that some people are making of him, that they're just, that this hero is going to elevate an account.
Yeah.
No, that's not really what, like Yuri, what we were saying is A3. That's where you want to get her. That's the sweet spot. That's what those heroes are, is that they are very good heroes. A low awaken is just to help you, push something that you might be lacking. But if you really want to push to the end game with them and then being a good support cast, A3. That seems to be the sweet spot with a lot of these heroes lately.
Yeah, I mean, Kai A3, the Kai A3 rework just made him completely transform. I love bringing up Kai because I know you don't have him A3 yet. So,
oh no, yeah, thank you very much, appreciate it.
So he's another one. Lucius, who gets his stuns at A3 as well. So yeah, there's lots of heroes that they brought out recently where A3 is kind of the transformation point from being a reasonable hero to a significantly great hero. So yeah, that's kind of what we need to look out for, and you kind of have to factor in with any of your should you summon decisions, because that's going to be always. And I have not pulled a legendary soul stone, like a full one from the game in over a year now. I've had them gifted, I've had them from the Odyssey, but I haven't actually got one from a reward chest, and that just means that I'm falling behind the curve unless I spend lots, and that's what these gacha games do. They make you fall behind, and they encourage you to spend, and it comes in a battle of wills against: do I want to spend money to try and advance my account and keep pace, or am I just satisfied with my own progress? And that is sometimes a really tough decision to make because you're trying to push as much as you can, and you feel yourself in a struggle to try and keep pace. So yeah, it's what they do, and they're very good at it.
Okay, so from having been able to kind of have both views, right? So my Forerunners account is the free-to-play account. I don't spend there, and I've run that account in that manner, in whatever I have been able to do with that account. And then, of course, I have the global account where I do throw some money at it. But here's the thing: is at least early on, you don't see that. I didn't see the big difference in progression. It was about the same whether you spend or not. The only thing that cut off it was the amount of time that you got to the end game, right?
Yeah.
I think that as the game continues to evolve, and we start seeing this much, we are assuming NM5 is going to be tougher content. We are assuming that maybe the tower up thing will be tougher content. That maybe this co-op thing will be tougher content, or it will be something where the better you do as a co-op, the more rewards you get. So you might need to actually push the heroes to make sure you get there, or you have the gear for it. So as it evolves, I think that discrepancy or the difference between somebody who spends and somebody who's free to play, we'll see that difference even more now. Because in Forerunners, the only difference that I'm seeing right now between being free to play and a spend, to be honest, is GBG, right? Because one, you're dealing with Demon Soldier affiliation there. Two, it's all about farming and trying to get those Demon Soldiers to level 5 as quickly as you can. So you need stamina for that. So either you're buying the stamina pack or the stamina pass or something. just to make sure that you're able to farm as much as you can in those dungeons to get those demon soldier shards. So that is where. So I think that is part of how their whole GBG system is trying to work. That is to make sure that people are, yeah, like you said, I have to, if I want to be really competitive, I have to spend. But
Yeah.
given where you and I, or at least where you and I stand in Forerunners when it comes to GBG and Arena and all this stuff, I don't see myself to have to try to do that. And so I think that is healthy for a game, that at least you're able to reach some goals. But if you have somebody like we have guildmates right now saying, I have to do Plat 3 on the Odyssey
Yeah.
for, and then they're encountering problems because they can't get past Preatus and Ingrid, then that's a problem. So they have to balance that up.
Yeah, they do, and it's the game balance since a lot of the sort of the top tier chaos and arbiter lords have come into the game has been a really difficult thing to sort out, and I do kind of keep harping back on this, but it is really difficult when you have these heroes dominating so many game modes and so much content. Because you like see all these guides and it's like, oh yeah, and you drop your A3 Valderon and it's like, that's not realistic for most players or a new player. Someone comes to look for a guide which is using generic heroes. That's why the epic only ones are kind of a con, because they're always using amazing gear. You can't do epic only content with crap gear. It just doesn't work. But yeah, you've got to find that balance somewhere. And Valderon and Preatus have just kind of, they are such a step up for most accounts that they just absolutely smash everything that's put in front of them. It's almost a challenge. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna. Then this is where the problem comes in. And they have said that, right? We're gonna introduce heroes that are able to counter them. But then you ask yourself, but are they going to move the power creep bar, or are we really just talking about countering this hero? So it was kind of like,
one of our guildmates has come up with a Yuri AA team, which looks impressive. And that could be the answer, that you have heroes who can do things in different ways. That just means that they're able to edge these high-cost heroes out of the game. But that doesn't solve the Valderon single-target arena thing, because he's really cheap to deploy. But anyway, that stops the Ingrid Preatus domination of 2 game modes. So then they just need to deal with the Valderon problem. And I don't know what the answer is to that. Maybe taking away one of his lives or something. I have no idea how you deal with Valderon.
That was a Yuri A3 that he was doing it with, right?
I don't know, actually. I need to go back and have a chat with him.
I'll have to. Yeah, I'll ask him about possibly doing a showcase on that team, but I have to see how exactly he geared them, what awakenings they were, and stuff like that. But yeah, it was an interesting setup that he did there to try to beat that Preatus and Grid Comp.
Cool. What else did we have on the list? Actually, I don't know. There's too much more. That's really all we had on here. We had the US ban. We had the game updates via the back door that may or may not be happening. How Moonton deal with that challenge. There's discussion of new content for Valentine's, which was in the post on Discord, which I had up a moment ago. And the fact that the devs are on holiday for 2 weeks, because it's basically their Christmas. They're on Lunar New Year at the moment. So they are out of the office for 2 weeks. So I'm not expecting any more patches until the week commencing the 6th of February, because they're out of the office, so they're probably not going to publish anything. And they did put out a patch on Christmas Day on Forerunners, so I'm not expecting anything from them in the next couple of weeks.
So the only concern for me was to discuss today was the prospective US ban. But I would say at least I will tell everybody right now that at least from what I gather, at least from our CC contact, is that they're optimistic that something is going to get resolved. They were trying to tame my concerns a little bit, especially with the collaborations that we have in the background. And so at least there is some optimism in the regard, but they're not going to say that they're 100% sure that something's going to get worked out, because something always, when it comes to a deal, something always could happen that just at the last minute things fall apart, right? But we do have to wait 2 weeks for that statement to come out exactly as to what it is. So as of right now, we can only postulate. But at least from what I'm seeing, the favor right now, if people are betting, the favor right now is that Moonton is getting a different distributor. They're separating from ByteDance in some way, shape, or form. So we'll see what happens there. And then what else did you say? The Valentine's updates, yeah. So I'm excited to see if they make that accessible in the test server. Please don't wait until 3 days before you release the content for us to test it. Give us a little bit more time.
You know they will. You know they're going to release it to you at the same time as Forerunners, the same time as Global, because they don't like to release this stuff early. They'll put a notice on the CC forum saying, "Release, big up these events. Here is the slideshow of what we're going to release, but we're not going to let you play with any of this stuff until it's actually released."
Man, people have lives. Come on, I can't do this. Just jump in there right away because you have 2 days. Good luck. No, this is why I didn't really do a proper Rygar showcase. Is because they didn't give me a whole lot of time to do it. So. But yeah, so and then the only other thing I guess that I saw on the global server is people are going to get to try the Phantasmal Nightmare in the next rotation, so you can all look forward to that. I think the highest score that we got here was SS.
SS.
SS. It was 6.5 million or 6.9 million. From what I can tell you guys that in the runs that we were able to do in the test server, Destin and I were going back and forth trying to see if we could top each other off, and he beat me. He got to 7.6. So once he hits global, I mean, imagine that somebody will be able to figure out some type of comp where they can hit the 9 million, but it'll be a heavy pay to win comp. Don't kid yourselves.
You need to be able to clear that first phase almost instantly. Yes. As soon as those monsters are coming out, you need to be removing them from the map to have any chance of getting through to the next phase, because you need to have the boost. You get like 5 minutes of damage boost, and you need that damage boost up for as long as possible when you're dealing with the shields, so that you can push the high scores. And I just didn't have the DPS to deal with that first phase fast enough, and that was what was limiting me. So,
and here is also the other trick. Thinking ahead.
No, you cut out.
Oh, sorry. No, am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, so what I was saying, here's the other thing from what you said is not only do you have to clear the Conqueror early, but you have to do it with 2 DPS. That's it. AoE DPS. You have to do it with 2. And because the rest of your composition has to be the composition that is going to be the one that clears the shields and the ones that do the damage to the Lord of Sticks. Because one of them, ideally, one of those DPS that you use on the Conqueror will get benched for the next round. So you gotta work around that and try to time that out. So there are definitely some kind of noted. I'm going to suggest for that first part, we all know the heroes that we're going to use for the Lord of Sticks, but it's that first clear. Just get all those, get the Conqueror out of the way quickly. Which heroes can do that?
Yeah, I didn't really have the time to dedicate to it to other be on my live stream, but yeah, I think there's definitely some stuff that could be done. I think some of the recent cultists who have come out could be interesting to play with. I definitely think there's some stuff there, especially if you've got Morrigan and all of her her exclusive artifact and her exclusive gear, because then you're getting to her bombs even fast, her boosted damage output even faster, and literally getting damage boost from that. So there's things that could be done there, but I just didn't really have the time to play with it to really go for. But I think it's a nice challenge, but my god, it's hard.
So I will give people a hint that one of them that I used was Beelzebub, but he was A3. So that I was toying around with in the test server. So yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what eventually some of the more material crafting players do come up with. And when it comes open against the test server, I'll try to jump in there and see if I can find a 9 million comp. But yeah, it'll be a pay to win comp. There's no way around it.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's nice to have another option in the Immortal Codex rotation. Obviously, there is that achievement for getting 6 to Triple S, and it's just another opportunity to have a go at cracking that threshold. But it's a little way off from my account. But I imagine there will be people on Global who will be pushing pretty hard and getting double S pluses within the first few days of it appearing. So it's tough content, but it's going to be a puzzle for people to solve.
So let's have a little bit of fun here before we close things out. Which pair up do we do to make the Arbor of Frost even more toxic? Which pair up would make things so complicated to try to clear, and then have the Arbor of Frost being part of it?
I think Pelagios with his bloody spikes, his bloody spears. I think that would be.
Yeah, because it would be, you have to do magic, primarily magic heroes or something that has a buff or something that applies a burn, radiant erosion, and then you need piercers to clear
Pierces with an enemy that gains magic resistance over time.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, that would be a very, very toxic pair up. But
that'd be
as you notice,
but
at least as you notice with the Phantasmal Nightmare, we had, it's like we had the window where you could pick 10 heroes. It's just that 3 had the slashes, right? So maybe if they do something like that, they make it up to 8 or 9. But yeah. So yeah, you pretty much took the one pair up that I would say I don't know how I would deal with it. The Arbor of Frost and the Furious Torrent both at the same time, and making sure that we could clear both levels with the same composition. We would need a whole new type of hero to come into the game for that.
Yeah, I mean, you could technically there is one hero who can switch who can switch damage types, and that is Ymrit. But you need to have somewhere to put him. You need to have the right build for him so that he can do it. And he's only applying one of the damage types during his ultimate. So again, that limits his usefulness in different things. Yeah.
Yeah, but then Ymrit is not a platform unit, so it'd be really hard to use in the torrent unless they make platform units available there.
I think they'd make platform units and ground units available in both modes, because in the same way that they've done with Conqueror and the Lord of Styx. So I think they've set the groundwork for saying that if they want to do that, they can do it. Because obviously the boss is on a floating platform in the middle, so you can just have the spikes appear, the tridents appear around there. But yeah, God.
But it's the switch and damage type that would really complicate things, and that's what I was thinking about. Is that you have somebody that is primarily beatable with magic, and then you have to come in and try to pierce team that can do the same thing with a boss that builds magic resistance over time. So you picked the perfect toxic pair up that I was thinking too. So.
I mean, yeah. What else is there? Yeah.
I don't know. Because the healer stage and the tank stage. I mean, that's it'd be really hard to make a combination with that. But
Yeah.
I didn't. I did when I was thinking about it. It's like I don't know if that would be fun content to put. You have healers, and then you bring in somebody like the Torrent, or bring someone like the Arbor, or it's just like it has to be something like the Conqueror, Lord of Sticks, or something like Arbor or Frost with the Torrent to really make something out of all the combinations that we could possibly have with the heroes that we have right now.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, it was a nice chat, Directors. Hopefully things do pan up. I'm okay. So I'm gonna try to be a little bit more optimistic than I was a couple days ago. But yeah, I'm gonna definitely keep an eye on things and see what happens. And it's just the timetable of all this thing just sucks because they went on vacation and now we have to wait 2 weeks before they can release any statements. So we're kind of in this limbo, and it's like, well, do we move on? Do we stick around? What's going to happen? And so all those questions come into mind. But I would say to whatever US player still remains around, let's cross our fingers and hopefully something does pan out at the end.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. I know it's been a slightly shorter episode than usual, but that's just the state of the game at the moment. Things are a little bit up in the air. We don't have a lot of definitive stuff to talk about, and there's new content. The devs are obviously being relatively tight-lipped on. So as we get more news, we will bring it to you. But do join us next time. We are trying to get more guests to come on. We did plan to have someone today, but unfortunately real life came up and they weren't able to join us. But yeah, do join us. Stick around. The channel is continuing to grow, just about nearly 380 subscribers now, and more are joining every day. So please do remember, like and subscribe down below. Share it with people, share it with your guild, because even if it's not this episode, there are loads of episodes in the podcast where you can go back and catch up. And there's all the Season 7 stuff, which is in a video with War Guides, which was like 3 episodes back. So we'll see you all in the next episode.
Yeah.